vehicles. So discussion was talked about promotion of utilizing electric charging stations within town, and also looking at changing some of our purchasing policies and probably incorporating electric vehicles into our fleet. So along the lines of the electrical vehicles, an ask was to be made, and I would like to ask of the council and also to the administrator that if we are looking at for the capital for this year, any vehicles for non-emergency response, so police, fire, etc., that if there is a consideration for a vehicle to be purchased for this year, that we would like to consider purchasing an all-electric vehicle versus a standard gasoline vehicle. One of the things, as I know, I work at a university, we are in the process of doing the same thing, and we have actually purchased one electric vehicle in the process of purchasing two additional of the all-electric. So from those who may or may not know about any information on electric vehicles, the Nissan Leaf is one of the all-electric vehicles, and from a mileage standpoint, how many miles per charge, that vehicle, again, what's in the documentation, can get about 150 miles per charge. So again, it's a good vehicle for local traffic. And then the Chevy Bolt, not the Volt, but the Bolt is also their 100% battery vehicle, has a range of about 238 miles. So the technology has really come forward a long way on the full electric. So it is something that is a consideration that we'd like to ask as we move forward on our capital planning. With respect to electric charging station, there's a lot of grants that are out there, and again, my university did take advantage of it, where through the state and through the utility companies, grants can be obtained to pay for the installation of the charging stations, and then also money is available, or actually through the utility, to actually have the charging station itself be provided. One of the requirements is that to provide this charging station for people, residents, to utilize to charge vehicles. So again, looking for help from the council and also from the town to see if we could look to partner with any of our businesses, whether it's the Connell or any of the properties that, Stop and Shop, Dunkin' Donuts and everything, if there is interested. So again, the Environmental Commission would take up the charge of identifying these grants and providing the information. We would just want to reach out and just looking for help to see, reaching out to our different properties in town to see if they would be interested in and looking at this, taking this information, even possibly putting in charging stations around town, again, as a great promotion of utilizing electric vehicles in here. As far as looking at electric charging stations here at the township itself, that would be something that would be looked at as the municipal complex goes into development, because now to do that would be a little bit of a install, move, double handling of a charging station. So with that, before I move on to the other subject, do we have a support, little agreement to look forward, start looking into this from the council?
Looking into it, correct?
Looking into, no, I'm not asking for approval to buy anything, but again, to look into, to see that if there's a possibility, again, and look at it, especially if we are to consider purchasing an electric vehicle during the capital, the whole budgeting process coming up in March.
Is there a department currently, John, is there a department that we currently have that it would be perhaps more appropriate for than any other department?
It would work very well, like for our building department, for inspectors running around
town. Yeah.
It'd probably be perfect.
All right. So we'll take the charge back to the Environmental Commission and look into that further. The other one is something that was brought before the council in about 2013, 2014 timeframe, is the reintroduction of the community garden. So as I've learned, there was a discussion of a community garden over at the Lord Hotel property about looking into it. It was discussed back in 2014, and then from that point it kind of just stalled for a while. The Environmental Commission is looking to see if there is still some support for this initiative. So again, the ask tonight is not to approve a community garden, but again, to make sure there's still interest from the council to look into this, so that way the Environmental Commission would come back to the council, present a full detail with questions, answers, how the community garden would work, layout, etc., and what, if any, funding might be necessary to support this initiative.
We're going to do it at the same location.
Same location at this point in time. More information needs to be looked into. In other words, I can anticipate a lot of questions being answered. So again, we need to start going into answering these questions to be prepared for everything. But again, before we start going down this road again, I just want to make sure there is interest from the council again to support this initiative and to move forward with looking at the research of it, and then to bring it back at a future council meeting.
I mean, I'll speak about it. I think it's a great idea if people want it, but I think they have to understand which we told them when they came in front of us 2 or 3 years ago, is, before anything like that could be undertaken, they've got to come up with the fundraising vehicle and the mechanism to raise the funds to fund the community garden, and then they've got to have a plan to build the community garden, and they have to plan to maintain the community garden going forward from a funding and a volunteer base. Because what's happened when you talk to a lot of these other townships that have done community gardens is they get started and then there's no upkeep, and they fall apart, and what they were improving actually gets worse. So there really has to be a well thought out plan. It's similar to when beautification got started. We weren't allowed to do anything until we had a fundraiser, and we did the clock, we got our funds, and then we could come forward with plans and to-dos, and there's a lot of work to be done before they can bring a community garden forward to us in a form that we could actually act on.
I thought there were some issues with the Lord of the Town anyway.
And I think there are with that property. I'm not sure it's a stable, safe property right now.
That was one of the reasons it started.
Right, so again, which is why I want to make
But
sure
maybe there's
before-
another place to put, I just
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
I think if people are interested in it, I think, have at it, go at it, it's a great concept, but it's got to be a really well thought out plan.
I was going to
before-
say, the concept's great. From what I've looked in other communities that have done it, I mean, it really does bring people together. The key seems to be having a champion, though. There has to be some people that are actually in it in
The
an
long term.
enduring, consistent way. Because I think the worst thing you can do is to have it start, and then suddenly you're dealing with that's the thing that, kind of fell apart. So it's really about, who the volunteers are. I think the funding's obviously always, necessary too. But I love the concept of it. We can find the right place, and there were people that were enthusiastic enough that they were going to sort of champion this type of thing. It brings people together. I mean, there's some really nice outcomes from these things when they work. So.
Can I ask a question? Is this a new group that has brought it to your attention, different from the group back in 2014 when it was first
Some of the
addressed?
one or two are still the same, but again, it's just a renewed interest in it from the Environmental Commission to start this program again. So, a lot of questions. Everyone's raising a lot of good points. That again, before we go down the road of doing all this work to put it together, I don't want to put the work together and come back and say there's not an interest. So, if there's interest from the council, again, we'll work with them, put the business plan together. Kind of anticipate a lot of these same questions to be asked that way when we do look for it. If we are, again, bring it back in front of the council, that it is a potential viable project.
I think Gene laid out the components of it, and that is, it has to be a self-sustaining project, okay? And I'm trying to remember the last time it came before us. It might have just been a citizen, was it not?
It was a woman.
Well, yeah,
I can't remember her name.
it was a woman in town that came forward and wanted to put this forward, but became too much for her, and I understand that. It can be. But, I think we want to entertain it, absolutely. Sure, why not?
That's the ask.
Why not? Okay.
Other than that, nothing else.
Let's go down here. Mr. Pastor.
Nothing to report.
Ms. Pogue.
Actually, I have a couple things. So I attended the Diversity Council event. I was the facilitator for a teaching prejudice reduction workshop, and there were only over 25 residents that attended. It was very well received. And the group continues to want dialogue opportunities in the area of reducing prejudice in the community. And we discussed power and privilege in the area of race, gender, disability, religion, and sexuality. And when someone came in the beginning, they're like, 4 hours we're to be here, 4 hours. And after 4 hours, we were still talking, and we had to get kicked out of the Y. So it was really good conversation and a chance to meet some people I've never met before, which was great. Also, in anticipation of the new governor's promise to legalize marijuana in New Jersey, there's an event in Trenton, and I got from Anna about the event, and I think the name of it is the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association to host cannabis educational seminars for local officials. So I'm interested in attending that down in Trenton on February 20th. So I'm going to register for that and get some information. And I'm not sure if this was the appropriate time to talk about this, if it was the other time, the conference time. I know I'm new, so excuse me about that. But many residents are asking me about the library, some teachers I work with, people in town, and so I kind of went back through the archives and the history of some answers to the questions about the library. And so the library closed on December 4th. It's 2 months later, and a lot of people aren't happy. So here are some of the questions I'm kind of getting. Why was the rectory not prepared in advance of the library closing its doors? People aren't happy. The short-term closing has gone on this long with no opening date in sight. And what happens in July when the township would be required to reach an agreement with the developer of the Little Flower property in order to meet the obligation for affordable housing? And the fourth one is, do we have any guarantees that the rectory will remain available for the library? And as someone who used the library at least 4 times a week, I know that some people consider this an inconvenience, but others, it is a hardship. And I just want to have some information to answer some of these questions when people come to me.
I think we all do. John, have we heard from Stephanie?
That's got to go to Stephanie.
Yeah.
She would be the one to answer that.
Let me just comment on a couple of things, which I think we can respond to. One of the inquiries was whether or not the rectory was prepared before.
Right.
Okay. There was an effort at that, but that obviously hinged on the closing. Is that correct, Mr. Sordillo, with
Well, we
respect
actually
to?
did come to an agreement where both parties were, and the library did have access to the rectory
Before the closing.
about 2
Somewhat
weeks
before.
the closing. It was that was a difficult thing, but we were able to work that out ahead of time and allow them access. And so they did have that beforehand and did start doing the work. To the extent of how much got done, I don't know.
I just remember being part of those discussions. The library needed to do some construction. They needed to build a new vestibule in the front, and they needed to put a ramp in, and they needed to modify a bathroom to make it ADA. Construction is taking them longer than anticipated because they thought they'd be open not too soon after the new year. And
Yeah,
we
no, I
haven't
was
heard.
looking back, and it's like they said about 3-week
Right.
closing period.
We haven't heard, and it's really, the library is governed by a separate body. As you know, it's not this council that controls it, so we can't speak to what's happening.
With respect to the potential redevelopment there, what our intent is, when we deal with the RFP, is to whomever that we enter an agreement with, to determine whether or not that can be built from one end to the other. In other words, oftentimes when developers come in, if they're going to put, I don't know, say 100 units up, they're not going to build 100 units. They're going to build a portion of that, sell them, and so on and so forth. So what we're seeking to do is determine whether or not they can do so, leaving the rectory end open. Correct. Okay, so that's going to be one of the issues that we discuss with whoever comes forward. All right, so.
And it's
there's-
clear in the RFP that keeping the rectory open is an objective of the township. So we've asked people as they submit the
And Mayor,
bids.
if I may just add to that, it's actually also in the redevelopment plan itself.
Correct.
We put that actually in the redevelopment plan. And if I can, I just wanted to question, because I was a little confused. You said a July deadline. I wasn't sure which deadline that was, so I just wanted to be clear on what you're referring to.
In the article, it was talking about 7 months after the closing period.
That's for the church that's currently renting the
That's the
property.
rental agreement.
That's the rental.
That's the rental.
That has nothing to do with.
That is not-
that's when
okay.
the church has to leave the property. That's not what has any bearing on anything else. The library still remains, and the RFP process goes on separately.
So when people ask me, I should have them refer to themselves to
Library board.
the library board.
Library board.
Okay.
It's their jurisdiction.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Pogue?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Where was the diversity? Because I missed that. When was that?
It was through the Y. I was just the facilitator. I wasn't the event holder, but it was it last Sunday? I think it was last Sunday. It was through the Y and the Diversity Council, and there were flyers up at through the Y. The Y actually did the flyers.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
It was a Sunday,
No, I was.
in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was from, I think it was I'm sorry, I'm lost. Today's Tuesday. I had a little death in the family this week, so I'm a little shaken. But, so yeah, a week ago Sunday.
Okay. Because I got an invite, I got something similar on March 1st. Are they doing something too?
I don't know, I wasn't invited to that one, so I'm not sure.
March 1st is the meeting. It's just a regular diversity.
Oh, that's the diversity meeting, yes, I was
Okay.
invited to that.
No.
yes.
20, I'm just trying to.
I didn't see any invites on this in terms of,
I think it was a flyer that the Y sent out. I can't even tell you. Again, I was just the facilitator. I didn't plan the event. I had offered my services because I do this workshop in district as well, and I had offered my services a few months ago, but back in, I think, October or maybe November. It was the 28th, so that was last Sunday. Yeah. Again, I just was the facilitator, but the Y was in charge of the event.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Squatto?
no, I did see it on Facebook, but it didn't pop up a lot.
No.
And I didn't receive any invitation. I did schedule to go. had emergency also, I wasn't able to attend, but I double-checked the diversity committee, and one thing I've asked the diversity committee, give us the information. If we can get it on the town website, we'd love to share this information. I did get several people who did ask me about it in town after the fact, because they didn't know about it. They asked first off, they asked me why I didn't go. And I said, I've attended every single event so far. This one I couldn't make. But it was not well publicized. I would love to have more information for these things next time. And I'm pretty sure the town itself would love to attend.
Yeah, I think they want to do it again, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as long as I ask the diversity committee, somewhere in the audience, please give it to the town also so we can know about it.
Anything else, Mr. Cotto?
No, that's it for now. One more thing, and before I forget, going back to the diversity committee, I have seen the Chinese New Year Saturday. And that pops up consistently on my Facebook feed, so that's being well publicized.
This Saturday, 4 o'clock at the Y.
At the Y.
Chinese New Year. Lunar New Year, I think.
Lunar New Year.
Lunar New Year. Yeah.
Bring oranges. So, oranges and red envelopes.
Peter?
Nothing to report back.
Mr. Kingsley?
Okay, a couple things. January 31st was the date that the application for status for Safe Routes to School was due. So the township applied, and Columbia, and the 4 little schools, Mary Kay McMillan, Hughes, Woodruff, Mountain Park, all applied, and all of them have applied for silver status. So there is first steps, bronze, silver, and gold in terms of recognition levels. And then looking at who's been getting the grants for the last couple of years, it seems to be towns and school systems that are either silver or gold. So the good news is we should be awarded silver status shortly. What did that mean for us as a town? For us to qualify, we had to have a letter from the council saying that we support the program, and the chief, John Pasquale, and Lieutenant Ernie Schmidt really took the lead from the police department, and we had to have a documented crossing guard policy. They had to do a bunch of surveys of the guards at the 5 busiest crossing guard spots in town that they completed, and then they had to provide proof of multiple crossing guard training sessions that have happened. So I thank Ernie, who really did a great job of pulling this together. It's a lot of documentation that we had to submit, and the town, and we are on our way with status. We will keep that status for 3 years, but that being said, we need to work to get to gold. So stay tuned, there'll be more coming. In talking to Chatham and New Providence, it looks like the best way to structure these type of committees is really through the schools, because it really has to be, the goal is to get people walking and using the sidewalks, and you really need the parents involved to be working with the kids. So the successful towns that do this structure this all from a school perspective and a PTO perspective, not a township perspective. So we are working on getting the PTO groups renamed, rebranded, to really have an emphasis on safe routes to school and some district-wide leadership. So if you're interested in helping with this, pay attention to the schools where your kids attend and look to get involved, because they are going to definitely be reaching out for more parents with that. Second thing is, I just wanted to take a minute, especially with snow coming, and reminders again, to remind people about the website. And I actually printed it out there. You know, we keep telling people there's 2 different alerts, and if you literally go to the homepage of the website, right here, I highlighted in pink what is the e-alert system, and in blue is the Swift 911.
Show it to the camera.
Well, I'll show it to you.
Go to the website.
Yeah, or go to the website. I was trying to tell people, it's that easy. So it's over here in the column. So what is the difference? When you go to an e-news alert, it's going to look something like this. You're just going to put in your email information, and then you're going to check the boxes to what information do you want to receive. Your choices are town council meeting notices, planning board meeting notices, zoning board meeting notices, or any other news and notice. And that news and notice can be events that are happening in town, stuff that's happening at the rec, or anything else that the town tends to send out. What's in the pink spots is Swift 911. That you have to basically set up an account, and you can get that sent to your home phone, your home email, or your cell phone. And this is where the police department sends out emergencies, and not, who does it?
Swift 911 is us.
Oh, Swift 911, okay, sorry.
They're all systems.
Swift 911 is us, and this is what, road closures and...
Yeah, that type of thing. Road closures, if we're paving, we would send out for that type of thing.
Yeah, and again, you pick how you want to receive this. So They are both here. They are not the same. And I encourage, all residents to really go to their website, especially in this winter season with, roads being closed, potentially town being closed or services being delayed. Sign up for these.
We're also looking at the first section that we can add, I think, with the current website, not pretty but functional, additional alerts. So we're looking to maybe add alerts there as well. So the ones that are there now, I think is 4.
Yep, and we might expand.
Choose what you'd like, but we're thinking about expanding there as an initial thing to do, to add some other alerts there.
Yeah.
So.
And I want everybody to take notice of this absolutely beautiful banner that we have in the back of the room. That was put together at one of the Martin Luther King Day of Service days that was sponsored by the Berkeley Heights Diversity Committee and the New Providence Commercially Together. And Ann Bartholomew, a resident in town, helped kind of lay out the visual artwork. It is beautiful. There's some really lovely messages on there filled out by residents and some of our children. So it will be here in Town Hall, and I would encourage residents to stop in and take a look at it. And lastly, there was an article in the TAP this week that I think really gets to the heart of the good of Berkeley Heights. And if people didn't see it, it was called Alan Gets a New Bike. And, I just brought a picture so people can see. Alan is a guy that puts the carts away and works at Stop and Shop and rides his bike to work every day. And one day a resident was driving and saw him walking home in Sterling and pulled over and asked him why he was walking and did he need a ride. And he happened to say yes and told them that his bike was no longer working, and this resident just put a note up on Facebook, could we, get Alan a new bike, and everybody answered the call. And to me, these little acts of kindness are what living in a small town is all about. Nobody asked what political party you were for. Nobody asked what color you were, what religion you were, what your beliefs were. People just came together for a good cause and an act of kindness. And I just think we need to take a step back and remember we're all neighbors, and it's important that we treat each other with respect and with a little extra kindness. It goes a long way.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. This past Friday, I attended the Chamber of Commerce, which is the Summit, Berkeley Heights New Providence Chamber of Commerce breakfast in Summit at the Suburban. Well, not Suburban anymore, okay. But it was myself and the mayors from Summit and New Providence. It was a nice event. Everybody kind of has some various questions for all the mayors. What it does is it hammers home the fact that we do have so many commonality of interests between us all. And what we also know, we don't have the answers to everything, notwithstanding our efforts to try and find them. Along the same line, last week, Mr. Pasicolo and I went back to the third county mayor's meeting, which is hosted by the mayor of Clark, over at Clark. And I would say maybe there were 18 to 20 mayors present. And I'm starting to think that it may be a good group to get things done, in large part because we're all equally cynical about what goes on in Trenton. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. Everybody says the same thing. So it really makes you feel good, okay? Which means that we all see what the problems are, okay? And, running a town, a little microcosm, if you would, is the thing where you get the most contact with people, and people have the most contact with you. And it just seems the further up the chain you go, the more distant everybody gets. So that was an extremely good meeting. At the meeting, State Senator Nick Scutari was there, and along the lines of what Susan mentioned a little earlier. Senator Scutari is probably the leading advocate for the legalization position of marijuana, and he put a nice presentation together. He was certainly impassioned about his position. He spoke for about a half hour, if not longer, took questions from everybody. The one thing is certain, this is a hot-button topic. There is no doubt about it. The mayor of Linden was present, and I guess in anticipation of things, he came out with all kinds of studies and reports and so on and so forth. It's going to require really an examination by all the elected officials when we make determinations, and we want to hear what the people in town have to say. I've had people come up to me and give me their opinions on it. I think it's safe to say we're probably a ways away because the legislation hasn't really even been drafted yet. That's the impression I get. At least it hasn't been drafted to the extent that it's out there for everybody to look at. Senator Scutari understood that. He said I'll give him credit because he saw the concerns and the positions and tried to reach tried to reach all of them, but it's going to be a hot-button topic. And as I said the last time we met here, it's something each of us have to give some careful thought to. There was a little bit of discussion about decriminalization. Ironically, and Senator Scutari is a lawyer, and he happens to be an a municipal prosecutor. And one of the strongest advocates for the legalization have been assistant prosecutors, and that's because small marijuana charges clog up the municipal courts. They clog them up. They just extend, forever and ever. And that's a reasonable reason, I think, to go into the pro column. But there was a lot of discussion about that as I listened to some of the mayors, and it's interesting because as you got into the larger towns, particularly where you had some more minority populations, you had a greater concern for the legalization because of the existing drug problems that are already there. That's another way to look at it. And I hadn't thought about that but then I read Senator Rice had some comments. Senator Rice from Essex County has had a lot of comments about it. And I know some senators that serve Trenton and Camden, which are oftentimes predominantly minority areas, have legitimate concerns because they have certain drug issues, and they don't necessarily see this as easing those drug issues. So it's a complicated issue. It's going to come back before us, no doubt, in sometime in the near future. So hopefully we'll be prepared to address it and discuss it and see where we all stand on it. Okay, John.
From our sewer department, we're anticipating no exceedings in our levels for January. I do want to bring up, we've had some problems with our nitrate reduction. Our new permit, we've got the limits now, and they're lower than what they were before, so we're working towards that. We've used the services of Chris Jepson, who we've used many times before. We probably are going to spend, in order to get this down, probably somewhere maximum about $20,000, maybe. But I just want you to be aware that we do have something going on. We've got until May of 2020 before the new permit limits kick in, but we're trying to get there sooner, obviously. We don't want to wait. The Chemtrade proposal that they had sent back to us is in with Mr. Sardillo to be reviewed. This is for taking their wastewater in. Maintenance work is still ongoing at the treatment plant and the pump stations. The new generator fuel tank, the vendor did a walkthrough last week, and concrete work is expected to start sometime next week, weather permitting. I wanted to let you also know that we did get our official permit to be able to use the PAA going forward now. So it's official, it's done, we're good to go. We don't have to worry about UV or anything else going forward.
Are we patenting that to make any revenue on that going forward for other towns?
Well, Tom McAndrew, our superintendent of plant, has been invited to numerous conferences to give talks. So once his swelling goes down in his head, I'll find out. He thinks he's a rock star now.
He is a rock star.
That's over $1 million savings.
Exactly. I think he's got an entourage going with him. From our zoning office, Tom had 15 plan reviews were completed, reports were recorded, and zoning results were sent to the applicant. There were 5 variances that needed to be done. Again, he took care of those, sent them to the applicant with an explanation of the reason for denial, and they're going to then have to take that to the proper board. 10 inspections were done on trees. Results were to the applicant's fee paid, and permits were issued for removals. There were 10 notices of violation for snow removals. Their court appearance on 1 summons was issued, and a follow-up on the court on abatement, monitoring prior violations issued for compliance. We're kind of busy with court right now with zoning. We've got some issues. So, there was inspection work done for tree removal at the Little Lord Farmstead. We had a tree removed down there. The lightning hit it, was split. From our building department, construction department, there were 23 applications we received the past couple of weeks. We issued 65 new permits, 9 updates. There were 78 plans were reviewed. we collected fees of $20,174. We also collected $10,355 of COA fees. We did get a notice that for Snyder Avenue, we do have an additional $63,651 coming back from a grant that we had. We had some additional paperwork we had to fill out. Mike got notice that we'll be getting that hopefully within a short time. They said about 6 to 8 weeks, but it should be sooner. From our rec department, from Mr. Barton, planning to start registration this week for the Spring Special Olympics track and field program that runs for 8 Sundays. It starts March 25th and it ends on May 20th. Working on plans for the summer teen scene travel camp, 4 weeks in July in conjunction with Mountainside. This will be the 9th year running these camps for students entering 7th through 10th grade next fall. Registration begins on Friday, March 9th at 9 a.m. Also working on a spring program booklet for programs that will run from April 2nd to June 9th. Registration begins mid-March. Preliminary planning for preschool summer camp, 8 weeks, and summer playground camp, which will run from Wednesday, June 20th to Friday, August 10th. Registration begins on June 1st. From our engineering department, Tom is out performing various site inspections, drainage concern, residents complaint, site amenity installations. Continued shop drawings for the permitting for the fuel tank over at the wastewater treatment plant. Assisted DPW and New Jersey DEP on compliance issues related to storm sewer facilities. Review of outdated township ordinance for potential revisions. A lot of our ordinances are old and we've got to do some updating. Coordinated with PD regarding site distance issues on Springfield Avenue relative to Primrose School. I don't know if everybody's aware, but we've had an issue with people parking right up to the driveway at Primrose going towards New Providence. So as you're trying to get out, you've got a line of sight issue. So what Tom's going to do is he's going to get us line of sight and how far back those people would have to move so that you can see when you're pulling out. So once that's done, we'll bring that to the council to get that approved, and then we'll paint on the road where you're not allowed to park anymore. But I think it's important. We're having some issues there, and I think it's because Bellinoma has been very busy, which is great, but we just have to address that issue. Tom has also been working with DPW regarding installation of a shower wash station, sink, washer, and dryer units at the rescue squad. From our DPW, we had a huge pothole on Emerson Lane. We had to cut out, replace the base, and resurface. We put down 23 tons of asphalt. We put down 144 tons of rock salt, 320 gallons of calcium chloride. 130, we had 15 tons of rock salt. On 2.5, we had 79 tons of rock salt, 220 gallons of calcium chloride. All equipment was washed, cleaned, greased, and put away after each storm. And I think that's key. We're trying to do much better maintenance after equipment is used. It makes it last longer. We don't have the issues we have with repairs. Salt is as everyone knows, just eats equipment up. So Joe made sure that it's washed down after every time we use it. The street sweeper was out. We picked up 75 cubic yards of sweepings. Leaves were swept also. The sweep sweeper. The sweeper was out on Snyder, Park Ave, Hamilton, Roosevelt River, and Briarwood. Sutton and Hamilton areas also, and all municipal parking lots. All catch basin tops were cleaned off and free of leaves and debris. We had a tremendous amount from the snow just washing down, and the top of the basins were just covered. So we had to go out and physically just have guys just stand there and remove all the debris. We also rebuilt and cleaned catch basin, and Industrial Avenue was rebuilt. Barnstable was cleaned out and jetted. Park Avenue at Memorial was also jetted. Head walls and outfalls were checked for discharge blockage. The LED message board, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the old one is now out. So Mr. Barton had a tear. He was over there. He had nothing to hang. As soon as we get a little break in the weather and we get a crane, the new sign is in, and we're going to get that put in, hopefully not too distant future. DPW repaired traffic signals at McMahon, Diamond Hill, Plainfield, and Springfield. We also had to have a company come in and fix the controller board at Driftwood and Plainfield location. Stop signs were replaced at Lawrence, Lascalia, Hillside, Oakway, Murray Hill Boulevard. The 25-mile-an-hour signs were complete, and there were some library signs that were still on Plainfield Avenue that DPW went out and took down. It still had the signs for the library like it was still there. Buildings and grounds, firehouse lights were replaced, bathroom sink was repaired. At Lord Littell House, a tarp was hung on the exterior wall to prevent water from going in. We helped the sewer department with some housekeeping, removed totes and poly tanks that they were not using. We're going to use them down at DPW for brine and water distribution. A couple of things that I also wanted to bring up. On 124, the chief and I went down to Union County to meet with them on discussing the railroad crossing on Plainfield Avenue. We explained to them, and I think we got an agreement. One of the keys is we got to have a detour laid out. It's got to be marked. It can't be a repeat of Springfield Avenue. They get it, and I'm sure we're going to be okay with that. After we came back, I did call the state and asked them where we were on it. I was informed that the money was approved, and we're probably going to get a phone call from them next month to do a walkthrough. There's no plans yet. They don't have any physical plans to present to us, but they're going to do a walkthrough first. As soon as there's drawings available, they will send them to us so that we can review them, have our engineer look at them, have PD look at them, make sure that we're in good shape on that. Last Friday, we met with New Jersey Transit in our parking lot outside. I think everybody should be aware, a lot of the cars that are parked along the railroad track, the fence there, are actually on New Jersey Transit's property. It's not our property. So we have to get an operating agreement with them. New Jersey Transit was extremely cooperative with us. Joe's going to prepare a letter to them in the next... This week. And we've got 15 copies of all the drawings we need to send down to them. After they receive them and review them, they're going to call us. We've got to go down and meet with them. We anticipate having an agreement with them very shortly. They were very positive. The other thing we're going to need from them also is temporary construction permit, because when a new building is going up, we're actually going to be, again, the back side of that building, there's part of that actually extends to their property. So we're going to need a permit from them, allowing us to do some grading back there and that type of thing. Again, I don't anticipate we're going to have a problem.
And just clarify, it's not, the building isn't in there, it's just
No,
the grading
the
work that
grading.
extends into there.
Yes.
And we discussed that with them at our meeting, and they told us the procedures to go through and then foresee that being much of an issue.
And did they talk about crane permits since the crane is... Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we discussed all of those, that's all would be included in the same permit application we'd be asking for.
But what we're thinking, Mike, is right now, we've got some opinion that anything can be done from the front or the side. We don't need to be in back of the building for lifts. Somebody's got a boom high enough, they can stay on the front side and get whatever they need to the roof, to the back. So that's what we're hoping, and we're going to try to make sure that whoever the builder is understands that. So, and I think that's about it.
Okay.
Well, that sign is down on the corner there. Can we make sure that whatever Mr. Barton would normally be putting up there gets put on our township Facebook page?
Of
And
course,
potentially gets put...
if he sends it to me, I would be
Right.
happy to do that.
And the other thing is we could push it out through the news, e-news, like news and notices through the e-sign up, just because people normally look there for
Yeah.
things, so we should push out to residents anything that would be there while it's not there. So just, if we can,
Maybe a rec blast, I mean, just...
or
Yeah,
whatever,
we
but
can do
not,
that
but I think they
also.
look at the town too, they don't
Yeah.
sign up for it. So I think the more places we put stuff while there's no sign.
Just so you know, as always, as we took the old sign out, the enclosure, of
Fell
course, is not in great shape. So, you know, we thought it was going to be pop the old one out, pop the new one in. It
There's a
never
little
works
masonry
like that. So we've got a bunch of work ahead of us on that.
John, can I ask one question also? Sorry, please. The library, where the library is, there's a building right in front of the library, a little room.
It's not a building.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a porta potty.
it's a porta potty. Is it possible to have that moved to the back of the library?
That's not us, that's Little Flower.
Property.
I
Little Flower?
certainly
I'm sure there's a
accept that
permit
request.
someplace. Someplace there's a...
I agree, it's right
Yeah,
next
someone
to-
has a permit someplace for that.
Might come in handy.
Hey, could you come in down the
I
street, the
thought that's
first
what the
thing you
crosswalk
say?
was for.
Yeah, I know.
I will call tomorrow.
It's not.
I know it's not ours,
Yeah,
but...
just, you mentioned summer, I know with that comes fields and then dugout. So I know we're not doing anything now, I know it's over to the school, you know, I'm sure there's a site this year to have it, it looks like it will be up and running for the season coming,
I
right?
can only tell you what the school has promised us. Yes, it
So
will.
right now, we're done.
We're done.
All that stuff's sitting up, they have to lay something, groundwork.
That is correct.
Enclosed, correct?
Yes.
That's all them at this point?
Yes, it
We've
is.
done the end of that.
And as you know, we meet with them every month, and we discussed that a couple of weeks ago, actually, about that. And And one of the other things we're working on, now that you kind of brought that up, is that we are going to, with our new hook truck, we are going to pick the garbage up from the school rather than paying an outside contractor. They bought hoppers. We'll be able to actually go over there, hook it up, pull it up, it dumps into our truck, we leave it back down again. So we're working together, we're going to do a kind of shared service with that foreman, and that should help them cut some costs.
Okay, and then fields and stuff, we'll start thinking, I mean, again, it's
Well, we've already
February,
had True Green, and I think, as I mentioned,
Right.
that was a couple Fridays ago, right, Tom?
Yes.
And we've got a proposal from them, we're already going ahead, scheduling them to start doing work on the fields.
And I know this is a fields committee thing, but did we land on resting Memorial at this point? Is that the?
Are we resting now?
Tom, I don't know, when were we going to open Memorial up again?
Plan on playing part of it this spring, not the part that needs the extra work.
Okay.
So there's enough real estate there to make a small-sided field and still have the work continue in the area that needs it.
Okay,
Sort of
so
resting there.
partially used. And then since we're talking about schools, I have to throw out a little plug. If you haven't seen the Columbia basketball team, go check these kids out. You can't believe it. This is the 7th and 8th graders.
Really?
The passing is amazing. So check them out. There's a couple of games left in the season. This is a strong team.
Bodes well for the future.
Strong team.
Just one piece of information. We found out about the New Jersey Transit issue with the parking issue when we did the survey to do this building, which was about maybe two or 3 years ago. All right, so we thought, well, let's take a survey of the property, make sure that we belong where we belong, and we learned that in fact we're parking on their property. There are poles on their property, so on and so forth. But they've been extremely cooperative throughout this entire process.
One of the things that they did bring up, they said this occurs in so many towns.
Yeah.
It's nothing out of the ordinary. They didn't seem to be taken back by it at all.
Yeah.
They said they face this on a regular basis.
Yeah, Mayor, in other towns, it's very often that the actual majority of the parking area actually is New Jersey Transit owned,
Right.
maintained by the municipality,
Right.
and take collective fees. In this instance, is only a portion of the parking area.
And that we learned.
And we're not extending it by, it's so negligible, we're only squaring off some parking spots. So they were thrilled with that, they said, if you guys are going to maintain it, that's great, so they don't have to be worried about it. So it was a very positive meeting with them.
Well, one of the advantages, too, is when the new building goes up, there will be more parking spots for commuters to park in,
Ridership.
which
for
is
them.
certainly a plus for the transit.
One
Okay.
more thing, John, can you also, in terms of fields and roads, can you remind the county that they're supposed to fix the curbing on Horseshoe?
I will call them again,
And
yes.
also confirm that in their budget for this coming year, they are budgeting for the engineering study of drainage on Passaic?
I will pose that question once again.
I think part of the spirit, John, look, your list is long and there's a lot of stuff going on. Just, we're in February, you know,
Don't wanna get ahead of it.
we went through fields last year. We know it's not going to be perfect this season, but we should gradually, and I think we are, with all the stuff we put in place, you know, keep that momentum going. So maybe, you know, this season we continue to see some of the fruits of the labor from last year, but, you know, it's obviously.
I think if you look at Memorial, though, you know, even last year, it was not there yet, but it's a lot better than it was. You know, even getting rid of that sea of dandelions just made the field look so much better. So we'll get there. We just got to keep at it.
Okay, Ms. Pogue, you have a motion?
Sorry, on the other page. I move that all Township Council reports be accepted and approved.
Second.
Second discussion, vote?
Mr. Vasso?
Yes.
Mr. Pluto?
Aye.
Mrs. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor?
Yes.
Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Pastor?
I move to open the citizens' hearing on the agenda items only.
Second.
Motion second discussion, vote, please?
Mr. Vasso?
Yes.
Mr. Pluto?
Yes.
Mrs. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor?
Yes.
Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Okay, hearing on agenda items only is open. Mr. Pastor?
Seeing no one, I move to close the citizens' hearing on the agenda items only.
Second.
Motion second discussion, vote?
Mr. Vasso?
Yes.
Mr. Pluto?
Yes.
Mrs. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor? Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Mrs. Pogue, resolution number 1, please.
I move resolution approving the bill list dated February 6, 2018, in the amount of $990, oh my gosh, that's a big number, 1,980, no, sorry, I am a teacher, I know this, I can do this, but I teach first grade, so give me just a minute. 990,908, no, that's wrong.
Oh, you're there, you're
right, you're
there,
right, you're
you're there.
All right, I feel like an idiot right
You're
here. $990,988.73.
There you go. Is there a second to that?
I saw those two periods and it confused me.
Mr. Babasa?
Yes.
Mr. Caludo?
Yes.
Mr. Aquila?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mrs. Pastore? Yes. Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Kingsley,
Yes, I move Resolution 2, authorizing the Planning Board to undertake a preliminary investigation in order to recommend to the Township Council whether Elite Properties at Berkeley Heights LLC, identified as Block 502, Lots 1, 2, 4, and 5, along with a portion of the Township's right-of-way known as Washington Street, currently Paper Street, are an area in need of redevelopment.
Second.
And I just want to comment so people know what this lot is. This is the old property that was formerly known as the Berkeley Florist property that's been sitting vacant for years. And this was also tied up in the whole COA settlement where this building, some of these units are going to be used to settle our COA requirements.
yes, and just as an aside, although not tied into this, Elite Properties is also in discussions with us with respect to what is commonly known as Vito's property. Okay, and they've really been in discussions with us, but the property on Springfield Avenue took priority for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was our affordable housing requirements. So hopefully Vito's property across the street will get done very, very quickly also. So, okay, vote.
Mr. Babasa?
Yes.
Mr. Caludo?
Yes.
Mr. Aquila?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Bravasso.
Move Resolution 3, authorizing transfers within the 2017 municipal budget and reserves.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote.
Mr. Babasa?
Yes.
Mr. Caludo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquila?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Mr. Kudo.
Hereby move resolution number 4, authorizing a tax settlement with Kevin J. and Susan Denick, Block 2303, Lot 4, a.k.a. 25 Old Cannon Road.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote.
Mr. Babasa?
Yes.
Mr. Caludo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquila?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Mr. Quilla.
Yes, I move resolution number 5, authorizing an agreement with Extra Duty Solutions to provide for the administration of the off-duty police services for the township.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Coach, yeah, Chief, Coach. Coach Di Pasquale. Yeah, could you explain that a little bit? Okay, all right. And your role as police chief, could you? That's the, John, it's the, for the administration of the off-duty police services. How's that intended to work?
If you look at the administration under A, it gives a pretty detailed account of everything that we do from the beginning, the request for off-duty officers, all the way through billing and invoicing, billing, invoicing, and interacting with the finance department.
So yeah, and just to clarify, this is a contract where they are going to outsource the administration for the off-duty police officers that service third-party customers. It's not the police that work the winter walk or the 5K race or any township activities. It's the guys working when PS&G is out there or the water companies out there fixing water main break. It's purely third-party people that are paying this.
We had that option to roll in those other ones, but it was more complicated. I think it's easier for us, and it gives us better oversight of staffing and all that stuff to those extra, the ones we do for nonprofit, the town jobs, and also the Board of Ed jobs. We'll still manage those, but that's a fraction of a big undertaking.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Vote.
Mr. Babasa?
Yes.
Mr. Caludo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquila?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore? Mrs. Pogue?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor.
I move Resolution 6, authorizing the sanitary sewer capacity allocation for the property identified as Block 2601, Lot 2, located at 125 Kent Drive, for the location of 3 total new lots.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Any discussion?
Again, I want to just mention that this is purely something we have to do because we're required to by ordinance for the sewer capacity. This is not in any way saying that we are voting on whether Kent Drive gets split into 3 lots. That is being heard tomorrow night by the planning board. So if people are taking issue with Kent Drive, they should show up at 7:30 tomorrow night for that meeting. That's not what we're voting on.
Vote, please.
Sewer only, right.
Mr. Vavasso?
Yes.
Mr. Cludo?
Yes.
Mr. Quilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingston?
Yes.
Ms. Dorr? Mrs. Poe?
Yes.
Mr. Ravasso.
Move consent agenda A through D.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote.
Again, I'm going to have one quick, I know I'm annoying tonight, but I have
Little bit.
another discussion.
Little bit.
I got a couple of emails, believe it or not, from residents on what is a performance bond, since 2 of these things are performance bonds. So I just thought we'd have a little teachable moment and explain. Basically, performance bonds are issued to guarantee against failure of one party to execute on a contract. So there's really 2 situations where we take them. Anytime there is work impacting the public right-of-way, or road or street openings, we take a performance bond from the resident to make sure that the work gets done appropriately. The engineer then goes out and looks at it when the work is done and releases the bond. The other instance is with our municipal land use laws, they require performance bonds as a condition of approval for certain large projects. They are site-specific projects, and that is a condition of approval that would be generated from the planning boards. So those are the 2 primary instances where we have performance bonds, and it's just a protection to make sure that the projects get built to code and get completed and finished.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kingsley.
You're welcome.
Vote.
Mr. Vavasso?
Yes.
Mr. Cludo?
Yes.
Mr. Quilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Ms. Dorr?
Yes.
Mrs. Poe?
Yes.
Mr. Cotto.
I move to open the citizens hearing.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Vote.
Mr. Vavasso?
Yes.
Mr. Cludo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquila?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Ms. Dorr?
Yes.
Mrs. Poe?
Yes.
Citizens hearing is now open.
Hi, good evening. Sai Bhargavi Akiri, 146 Robbins. I remember earlier this year I was here and I asked a question about the cab bank utilization in the past years. And I actually sent an email to our CFO, but my questions weren't answered on if...
You know, let me just comment to that, okay? Were you at the last meeting, Sai? I don't
No,
think you were.
I watched
Okay.
it on the live stream.
Okay,
though.
no, you're okay. The reason I say that is because we know that you had a concern about that, and we had advised our CFO to speak to you had you come and set up an appointment so that you and he can sit one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay, which you're certainly welcome to do, and you just have to give Michael a call and set it up, and he will sit and explain it one-on-one.
It's a simple 3 questions. Did we utilize our cab bank in our past 3 years?
Okay.
So for that, I don't understand why I need to schedule an
Well, if you don't want to speak to him, that's fine.
No, I'm saying I'm just busy, and then I'll have to...
I appreciate that. Did you hear that question, Mike?
I did not, but I did respond to her email.
Oh.
If she has additional questions, she can email me anytime she wants.
Oh, she just asked a question. So
Okay, what question
Ask it again,
specific?
Si.
Yeah, so just...
The form she's using is not accurate.
Oh, I see.
So I want to know if amount of cab bank utilized in 2017, and if we had ever used in the past years, like I gave him 2000 to 2017. I wanted to know, and these questions were not answered. Like I laid down 1, 2, 3, amount of cab bank utilized in 2017. I didn't get a number back. Amount of the cab bank money used in previous years from 2000 to 2017. No answer. And he quoted that the state released statement that I shared with him was inaccurate. So I asked him to say, so what I'm trying to ask here is, where is the state getting these numbers from? Is it getting from the town, or is it pulling it off of some other place?
Did you hear
So
that,
these
Mike?
are my 3 questions.
Basically, every year the state comes out with cost of living increase. It goes anywhere from 0% up to, let's say, 3%.
Okay.
So that when they do that calculation, they're doing it based on whatever the cost of living increase is. So which is at 0% and 0.5%. We're not going up 0.5, we're going up 2.5. And then doing an ordinance to go up.
Okay. And could you...
The state's calculation is based on whatever the cost of living is versus what statutory statutorily, we're actually allowed to go up, which is the 2.5%.
Okay. And if you could email me the amount of cap bank utilized, like the exact numbers, that would be great. I think I had a suggestion. I saw that we were requesting, I saw that there was a post that there are openings for the Environmental Commission. Similarly, could we post about any future openings for the other committees like that are there in the town? Like if there is an opening coming up, how do people, I know that the way to apply is I fill the form and send it to the mayor or email it, but how do we know when there are future openings coming up? If it could be communicated similar to the way Environmental Commission is doing it. Also, I see that there were new appointments made, or the same person is on multiple commissions. So how does that happen? Like you have a same...
It just happens.
Well, I think that
It may be
because
appropriate.
certain residents have come forward and volunteered.
Right.
So you can have more than one person, like one
Yeah.
person on like
Oh, yeah.
3 or 4
Sure.
committees?
Sure. I mean, what happens is there's people file an application to be interested in a committee, various committees, whatever. And
Okay.
if an opening comes up, then whoever the sitting, a lot of times the committees know they have an opening, they will ask for, has anybody applied or who's they looked?
Okay.
And they can make a suggestion, and ultimately it's up to the sitting mayor to decide and appoint who's there. And then most people, if you're on a committee, you are asked, would you like to stay on the committee or would you like to give up your spot?
Okay.
And if the spots get given up, then new people come on as needed.
Okay, so if you could like post like any
There's open-
future...
A lot of times there's, not openings, but it's the best way is if you're really interested in a committee, any resident, put in an application.
No.
And then we have the information on file that if somebody quits, we have a plethora to go to.
Yeah, I think I did that like 2 years ago, but then I see that we have new appointments, but then I haven't seen like there was an opening, or I just wanted to understand the process, like with the same person being on multiple committees, so why not give somebody else a chance, That's where it was coming from. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Julie Lloyd, 52 Deepdale Drive. I just wanted to thank DPW. On Monday morning, woke up, it was raining, and they came out with all the salt. And at Columbia, there's always a lot of water issues and ice there, so it was very helpful for the ice melt that was there. That was very helpful. So I just wanted to shout out to DPW, and I just wanted to congratulate all of you on a job well done with the municipal building and that you're all moving forward with it. I know that most of you up there have worked really hard on that, and I just wanted to give kudos to all of you and looking forward to the shovels in the ground. Thank you.
As are we. Thank you.
Natalie Chen, 6 Deepdale Drive. I just wanted to thank Manny for opening on the Lunar New Year event. It's going to be held if people haven't seen it on Facebook or through the town, it's going to be on February 10th, this Saturday, from 4:30 to 6:30. I had the privilege of working with the Y in Berkeley Heights, and as well as the Summit Area Y, to doing this event. And it's due to the local business around this area. So a lot of our Asian restaurants has been contributing. So I just want to note that if it's not possible from the local business and the town, we won't have wonderful events like this. So thank you, and hopefully all of you will be attending, as well as everyone here. So
Thank you very
if you
much.
haven't seen it, I have more posters.
Don't leave with that at the poster. John, can we post that poster in the office?
Yes, of course.
'Cause we have the bulletin board in town.
I've been putting it also in the municipal areas with their permission.
Yeah.
So
we're
it's not
putting it right
just
here in town hall.
great.
Okay. Thank you.
Hope to see you. And also, one more note, I know we posted on March 7th. There's also going to be the next Diversity Council meeting, so I just want to at least make sure you know that.
It's going to be at the Y, or?
Where's it going to be, at the Y? At the Y, where are you going to hold it?
At the Y at 7:30.
7:30?
March 7th.
Okay.
Thank you.
And maybe we can post the Lunar New Year on the town website?
I could probably send it to you.
If you have some, send it to me, please.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Cordell?
Seeing no one else, I hereby move to close this citizens' hearing.
Second.
Mr. Second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. Navasso?
Yes.
Mr. Pacino?
Yes.
Mr. Patillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor?
Oh, yes.
Ms. Kingsley? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you get Susan? Okay. Ms. Kingsley?
Okay. Whereas the provisions of the Open Publics Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-1, expressly provide that a public body may move into executive session and exclude the public from that portion of the meeting at which the public body discusses any of the 9 areas set forth in NJSA 10:4-12B. And whereas the Township Council of the Township of Berkeley Heights has determined it necessary to move into executive session to discuss the following subjects, all of which are included in the aforesaid exceptions. 1, attorney-client privilege litigation, Associated Construction Contractors of New Jersey versus the Township of Berkeley Heights. 2, attorney-client contract negotiations, potential litigation, 23 Horseshoe Road. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Berkeley Heights that it does hereby move into executive session pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B to discuss the aforesaid matters. It is further resolved that the aforesaid discussions shall be made public either at the public meeting following said executive session or at such time as any litigated or personal matters are concluded or upon conclusion of any negotiations or related discussions or as otherwise specified. It's further resolved this is a resolution shall take effect pursuant to law 6th of February 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. Navasso?
Yes.
Mr. Caputo?
Yes.
Mr. Quilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor?
Yes.
Mrs. Poe?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. We will come out only to adjourn. Thank you.
6 messages all day in there, too.
Gosh, I failed math.